Okay, we're on the fifth line from 25b, and we're in middle of discussing daya. You will remember, daya is the idea that no, it is that is the right word. I'm not sure that the translation is the most helpful.
Oh, okay.
Daya literally means the concept of daya. Forget about it a little. Daya literally means enough.
No.
You know, as in the Aramaic word of dayenu. But the concept of daya is that you can't learn more than necessary. In other words, the source for something can't turn that thing into something more than it itself. So, for example, briefly to summarize what we saw yesterday, the source of Karen is Karen b'shusarabim, Karen in the public area, which is Chatzin Ezek. You can't make a Kal V'chomer that would then say Karen in the Chatzar HaNizek, in private property, would be Nezek Shalom. That's the rabbi's opinion. Okay. So, now the Gemara said that Rabbi Kiva holds of Daya. However, he holds of Daya only when Daya sort of limits the Kal V'chomer, but not when it eliminates it completely. So if the Kal V'chomer would not tell you anything, then you don't say Daya. If the Kal V'chomer tells you something and Daya limits it, that's acceptable. So the Gemara says, we're five lines now, 6 lines down on 25b. Yeah. This author does not learn Daya. Even though, one second. Even though the Kal V'chomer, in other words, there is another opinion that says we never say Daya, even when Daya is only a limiting factor. Meaning there is a Kal V'chomer, but if you said Daya, it would be limited. So let's see, what's the example? The Tanya we learned. Mapitz b'meis minayin. Mapitz, I believe, is a mat. Is that how they translate it? Yeah. A mat.
Just like a mat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mapitz b'meis minayin. Okay, so we know we're familiar with the concept of tumas meis, the tumah of a dead body. Okay, now in terms of the tumah spread by dead body, we know that the tumah spreads on kalim and on begodim and on kli'ar, leather, basically. However, the mapitz, the mat, is neither a kli'etz, it's not a vessel made out of wood. It doesn't hold anything. It's just a mat.
Must have a mat of reeds.
Yeah. So, and it's not made out of leather, it's made out of wood, reeds, whatever. It's an item that grows. So how do we know that it becomes tamid? So the Gemara says v'dinu. It's a Kal V'chomer. Uma pachim ketanim. Okay, so what's pachim ketanim? It's a very interesting thing. Pachim ketanim is a vessel that is made out of earthenware, but the key feature of this vessel is an extremely narrow opening. It's so narrow you couldn't put your finger in. Okay, ma pachim ketanim. You have these small vessels, shetohir and bezov, that they're tahar with tumazov. Why are they tummy for tumazov? As follows: because a klicheres has a unique feature that the outside of it does not become tummy. The outside is not susceptible to tumah, only the inside. And also another unique feature that the tumah of the inside has nothing to do with touching. So, for example, let's say you have a large earthenware pot, and a zav walks around and touches the outside of the pot. There's no tumah. Similarly, if a dead body touched it, there'd be no tumah. However, if there's tumah inside the pot, let's say you hang a cockroach inside, everything in the pot becomes tummy, and the pot becomes tummy. The amphora, whatever it is. If you hang it, you don't have to touch.
Right. No, if you hang it,
then everything becomes tummy. Right, inside and outside. Right. Okay. Now there's a problem here, though. With regard to this little jug that has a tiny hole, the zav can't stick his finger in it.
Okay.
And because it's ineligible for tumas maga, it's also ineligible for tumas masa. or tumas hesed. In other words, because a zav can't get in, put his finger inside.
He could dribble in it.
What?
He could dribble into it. No, I'm just.
That's true. But because he can't put his finger in, so therefore there's no other category of tumah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
They purposely make them that. Yeah.
Okay. Since it's ineligible to become tameh by a zav through maga, through touching, therefore it's ineligible to become tameh through any other method, like mas or hesed. Hesed is moving it, mas is carrying it. Okay. See, however, shetahirim bezav. So a zav can't make these things tameh. B'meis mitame b'meis. They would become tameh tumas meis if they were in an oil hameis. That means they were in the same room as a dead body. Then they would become tameh. If you have a vessel in a room of a dead body, the vessel becomes tameh. One second. So therefore, if you have this this reed mat that is tameh by zav, ain't a din sheyitron b'meis. A kal v'chomer that it should become tameh by a dead body. Okay, there's just one problem. The kamaisila bein l'tumas era, bein l'tumas shiva. 1 second. If a zav touches a vessel, how long does it become tameh for? A day. It's a rishon. It's a rishon l'tumah. Therefore, it's until Sunday. Whatever it has to. It's till it goes to the mikvah and sundown. That's how much the tumah is. Effectively, it's at a minimum until evening. You know.
But I just got confused. You said if the vessel is with a body, it becomes tameh. I thought we just said it couldn't become tameh. So I'm saying, so if any earthenware vessel touches a dead body, there's no tumah on the outside. However, if it's in a room with a dead body, so then we consider the tumah to penetrate inside, unless it's a sealed vessel that we call it smid cell, and then there would be no tumah. Okay. Now, tumah's zav has the status of a tumah. He touches a vessel. It gets status of a rishon l'tumah, which is at a minimum until sundown, mikvah and sundown. Okay, so hanilai. Okay, now, but the kal v'chomer, now that you're saying it becomes tameh tumas meis, what type of tumah does tumas meis make? It makes tumas shiva. It takes 7 days till you're eligible to become tahor. So the kamaisila bein tumas erev, bein tumas shiva. Va'amai. Why? Ema ahani kal v'chomer tumas erev. We should say that kal v'chomer from zav works, but only insofar dayai. Right, just like a zav could only make a mapitz tameh for the evening, mikvah and sundown. So too, a tumas meis should only make the mapitz, the mat, tameh, tumas erev and sundown. Dai love menadin lias kanidin, and it would be enough to say that it becomes tameh, no more. Don't make the 7-day tumah. But okay, so you see here clearly there's an author that doesn't hold a dai period. Because over here you could say dai. You could say the kal v'chomer works to tell me that it is tameh, right? And dai tells me only 1 day. This question was asked from Nachman bar Zechariah to Abaye. Abaye says, you actually have the kal v'chomer wrong. Tanami mapitz b'sheretz ma'asim. The kal v'chomer is telling me that actually tumas sheretz. What's tumas sheretz? So sheretz, we said there's a shmoyne shrotzim, there's 8 bugs. Okay, they're not all bugs, whatever. Right.
Okay, we get it.
Right.
Some of them are rodents. Okay, but there are 8 shrotzim that are tumah. What type of tumah? Ava tumah. Like we said in the past, there's 3 main categories of ava tumah. There's tumah meis, there's tumah sheretz, and there's tumah hayotzim and aguf. Which tumah hayotzim and aguf is zav and nida yeledes, and what we put mitzvah in the same category, even though technically speaking, mitzvah is not a tumah that exits the body. Mitzvah is a tumah of the body. Okay, whatever. That being aside, those are the 3 categories of tumah. Again, there's mace, a dead body, sheretz, one of the 8 quote unquote bugs, and tumah hayetz and aguf, a bodily emission, which includes zav and nidiyaledes and mitzvah. Okay, so now the kal v'chomer actually tells me it's not referring to. We're not making kal v'chomer from tumas mace to tumas zav. What we're saying is we're learning tumas sheretz and tumas zav, the tumah of the 8 bugs to the tumah of zav. So let's see what it is. Bava Kamma. This is the kal v'chomer.
Mapets b'sharetz minayin. How do we know that a mat becomes tamei if the cockroach or the mouse walks over it? So the Gemara says, "V'dinhu," it's a kal v'chaymer. Uma pachin ktanim sh'taharim b'zav tmeim b'sharetz. Just like the pachin ktanim, these small jugs that are tahar b'zav tmeim b'sharetz. A zav can't make them tamei. Why not? Because he can't stick his finger in. However, a sheretz, one of these 8 bugs, could fit in. So therefore, it could become tamei. So mapet shematame b'zav and then she tamei b'sheretz. If the mat it becomes tamei by a zav, in other words, if a zav walks on the mat, that would be what we call give me a second here, tumas mishkav or moshav. Mishkav and moshav is what he lays down on, or what he sits on. And this is a unique type of tuma where even if it doesn't touch him. So let's say a guy has exactly, he has 10 mattresses piled up, he sits on the top, all of them become tummy.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Because this mat is eligible. Now, what I should have mentioned, this concept of tumas ma'ishav is unique to things that are normally sat on. So the guy has 10 mattresses, all 10 are tummy. Okay. Let's say he has, I don't know, he slips on 5 chainsaws, right? I'm not sure why he would do that, but nothing's tummy because you don't sleep on top of a chainsaw, obviously.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, but a mapets, this mat is sort of eligible for that category. I'm not sure exactly what they used it. Maybe they use it as a mattress, as a spring, box spring, or something like that. Therefore, it's the type of thing that people would use as part of it, something that they would lay on. So therefore, it's eligible for that category of tumah. Tumas mishkav or marshav. Okay. So zav is again. Let's review again. Zav sheretz is mitame pachim ktanim. These vessels with a tiny hole, earthenware with a tiny hole. Sheretz makes them tummy. Zav does not make them tummy because zav can't fit his finger in. However, a zav does make a mapetz tamei tumas mishkav, right? The zav makes the mat tamei because the type of thing that's included as part of something that's often laid down on. So therefore, kal v'chaymer that a sheretz should also have that type of tumah. 1 second. Okay, now obviously, as you can figure out, sheretz, one of the 8 bugs, is an avatumah, right? So which means that the keli would be a vessel. The keli is a vessel. The keli would be a rishon l'tumah, meaning it would be tamei minimally mikvah plus an evening. So it's the same category. So all is fine and well, right?
Okay.
Okay. 1 second. Okay, we're together.
Yes.
Let's summarize very briefly. Let's summarize the Gemara. The Gemara was attempting to say tumas that a mapet should have tumas meis. Tumas meis is a type of tumah that's tumas shiva, right? We would be 7-day tumah to the mat, and that's learned to kal v'chaymer from zav. Clearly, that kal v'chaymer would only work if we would not say dayai. So the Gemara rejects that, and the kal v'chaymer is actually not teaching you. The kal v'chaymer is not teaching. The kal v'chaymer is not teaching tumas meis of a mapetz, that a mat becomes tummy from a dead body 7-day tumah. It actually teaches that the one of these 8 bugs makes the tumah. Together?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, of course, the obvious question, which you're all thinking, is okay. Well, what is the story with a mapetz by a mace? Could a mat become tamei from a dead body? Okay, this is the next phase of the Gemara. So we're finished with dayai. I think yeah, we'll get to a lot more kal v'chaymer soon, but so far I believe we're done with dayai for the day. But now we have to figure out what's the story with the mapetz, with the mat, with regard to tumas mace of a dead body. El mapetz mace minayin. Never. Okay. So we know the mapetz gives tumah for a zav. Why? Because it's in the eligible category of things that zav would lay down on. We know that from a kal v'chaymer, a mapetz creates tumah by a sheretz. Not creates. It's vulnerable. It's susceptible to tumah sheretz. How do we know that a mapetz is susceptible to tumas meis?
So the Gemara says, never beged for Arba Sheretz, and never beged for Arba Mace. Ma beged for Arba Sheretz, Mapets Tommy by, Af beged for Arba Mapets, B'Mace, Mapets Tommy by. Okay. So the Torah says that the category of things that are susceptible to the tumah of a bug is clothes and skins. And the same terminology, clothes and skins, is also used by Tomei Mes, a dead body. So therefore, just like in that category of clothes and skins is a mapetz with regard to a bug, the 8 bugs, so too it's a mapetz with regard to Tomei Mes. This is called Xera Shovel. So in other words, we're drawing a commonality between the 8 bugs and the tumah of a dead body. So the Gemara says, Mufne. It must be that this verse is extra. So okay, we'll explain. The ilat lo mufne ik lo mifrach. Because if it's not extra, we have an argument against this Xera Shovel. Ma'al sharish kemetama bekadosha. Timer meis she'enim metama bekadosha. Okay, so in other words, we're sort of equating the tumah of a sheretz, the susceptibility of tumah for a sheretz, for a bug, to the susceptibility of tumah for a dead body. However, there is a difference between the tumah of a bug, the 8 bugs, and the tumah of a dead body. What's the difference? The difference is the tumah of the bugs is beka'adosha. That's a lentil. Whereas the tumah of a dead body is a minimum size of a kazayas, which is, I don't know, many, many times over, right? Kazayas is the size of an olive, typically about 28 cc. What's that in American units? I'm not sure. So I think it's 15. It was 5 cc to a teaspoon, right? So it's about 2 tablespoons. Yeah, 2 tablespoons by volume, and it is a volume measure. It's a little less than two tablespoons by volume, which is, okay, a little less than 2 tablespoons. That's a kazayas. Now, how many lentils could you fit in 2 tablespoons? Much more than 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. You know,
right?
It's many times over. So therefore, they're not really equivalent. So you can't really learn them from each other. However, if the verse is extra, the general principle of Xera Shava is it doesn't make a difference if there are differences. The Xera Shava tells you that they're equivalent even though there are differences. If the Xera Shava does not, if the verses were not extra, what we call that mufna, then we say that they sort of have to be comparable. If the verse is extra, they do not need to be comparable, because that's what the verse is telling me. The concept is very simple. The fact that Torah uses a similar words twice, yeah, it's a source of commonality. That's true. But if it was necessary for it to write those categories in both, that terminology in both categories, then we say that to actually make a comparison is only if the comparison is appropriate. That the 2 categories are roughly similar. However, if the verse is extra, it's not needed, then the verse itself is telling you to draw the commonality, despite the fact that there's differences. So here we have 2 categories. We have Tumas Meis, Tumas Sheretz, and the phrase of beged and or, clothes and skins, is extra. 1 second. So the Gemara says, true afnui mufne. It is extra. Mechti sheretz is shechva zera. The siv oyesh shetitze mimen shechva zera. The samach lei oyesh sheyigam b'chol sheretz. The tumah of sheretz is very similar to the tumah hayetz meguf of shechva zera. Tumah from a semen emission. And just like, okay, 1 second. And it says with regard to tumah of semen, v'chol beged v'chol ar. Any that the tumah, what is susceptible for that type of tumah? Skins and clothes, beged and ar, skins as in leather. Asher yia all of shechva zera beged v'ar the kasar chol misharetz lamali. So therefore, if I already know that whatever is in the category of tumah shechva zera is in the category of tumah from the 8 bugs. So if that's the case, then why does the Torah need to repeat itself within the category of if you don't mind muting, thank you. Why does the Torah need to repeat itself with regard to the 8 bugs to repeat beged and ar, clothes and skins?
It must be it's extra, and therefore you can make this Xera Shava between Sheretz, the 8 bugs, and Tumas Mace, Tum of a dead body. What?
No, just.
Okay, it gets more complicated. Don't worry about it. No, not here, but next page.
Oh, I was gonna say this is already.
This is we'll finish this in a minute, but it gets
I
worse.
thought we were already at maximum.
The inspirational speakers circuit, I might not like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't go in Bava Kamma. Not at least these parts of Kate are very difficult. Okay, Vakati mufnim tzad echad. Okay, Vakati mufnim tzad echad. Okay, now so we've established that the word beged and or with regard to in the category of tumas sheretz, tum of the 8 bugs, is extra. This makes sense. If all you need is one verse to be extra, in order for you to make Xera Shava and not be able to draw distinctions and note the differences. That you could make Xera Shava, but you could also draw distinctions. So there is a distinction really between the 8 bugs and a dead body. The distinction is the amount of volume necessary to create Tumah. So Michael Maimer, what's the answer? So the Gemara says, the truth is, Beged and Or of Tumas Mace is also extra. Mechti, Mace is Shechvazera. Tumas Mace, the Tumah of a dead body, is also compared to the Tumah of Semen. The Chsiva and Egea, B'kol Tomei Nefesh, Oyesh Ashertet Simimenu. One second. Okay, so you have the Torah equates the tumah of a dead body to tumah of an emission. And with regard to shechvazera, it already says v'chol beged v'chol or, any clothes or any skins. Okay, so therefore, because tumas mace is equivalent to tumas shechvazera, and with regard to tumas shechvazera, the Torah already specifies beged and or, clothes and skins. Therefore, it's not necessary to repeat that with regard to tumas mace, because it's learned from tumas shechvazera. It must be it's extra to make Xera Shava. Okay, so both the word beged and or of sheretz and of tumas mace is extra. That makes Xera Shava to equate them. And that's how we know that, and that Xera Shava teaches us that the mapitz that's tamei, the mat that's tamei by the 8 bugs, which is learned from Tumazov, is also tamei by is also susceptible to tumas mace. Okay, makes sense. Okay. Okay, now there's just one problem here. The problem is that what type of tumah does the bug make to the mapitz? How long is the tumah for? The bug touches the mat. How long is that tumah? So the bug is an afa tumah, which means that the mapitz, the mat, is now a rishon tumah, which means in effect the minimum tumah length is a mikvah plus an evening.
Oh. Right,
mikvah plus sunset is the minimum tumah. However, we're equating it to tumas mace, which we're giving 7 days of tumah. So there is a little bit of a difference here. This makes sense according to the opinion that says that with regard to Xera Shava, you learn the concept, but you apply it in context, right? So what we're learning the concept. What's the concept? That a mat is susceptible for tumah, and we're applying it in context. What does that mean? That means that with regard to tumas mace, the tumah of a dead body, the tumah is a 7-day tumah. So that makes sense according to that opinion. Learn, but put it in context. So that makes sense. According to the opinion that says you learn actually exactly what's spoken, but no more. So then we're back to the original question. How do we know that that a mapitz is tamei 7 days when it touches a dead body? You can't learn from sheretz because sheretz is only 1 day. So Amarova Amar Krovin Hibastem Bigdechem B'Yem Hashvi. Kol Tumas Shatam Mitame B'Meis L'Yu Pchusim Mishiva. So Rava says the verse specifically specifies the truth is that you do learn Tumah only for 1 day, but the Torah specifies there is no such thing as Tumas Mace for only 1 day. Tumas Mace by definition 7 days. So therefore, yeah, it's true. You only learn 1 day, but then the law changes it. to say there's no such thing as a 1 day tuma. It's got to be 7 days. Okay, fine. That takes care of this. We're done. Tumas meis daya. We're finished with that. However, we're not finished with kal v'chaimer by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, let's just summarize the next Gemara we were headed to, and hopefully, if you can get to the Mishnah after the Mishnah is much easier. Okay, the Gemara here is sort of going through the differences between Shane, Regel, and Karen, and we're going to try to compare them and contrast them, and then try to basically change the rules and note through the laws of kal v'chaimer. So some of the things are obvious here. You'll know all the answers. The Gemara is sort of working through the specifics. So a lot of the things that we've taken for granted, the Gemara is going to actually try to change using kal v'chaimer. Okay, so let's see the first thing. Shane and Regel should be chayav in a public domain. Right? We said otherwise. Like I said, we're going through a lot of the basics here. We're going at the most simple level. We're going to try to change all the rules using kal v'chaimer, and then we'll see why the rules are the way they are. So at the end, everything will stay back to what it was, before we start this Gemara.
Just skip all over.
Yeah, it's Talmud Bava is the process. Do the process. Okay, let's go through it. Shane and Regel chayav b'shusarab mikal v'chaimer. Shane and Regel should be chayav in a public area. Mikal v'chaimer. What's the kal v'chaimer? Uma Karen should b'shus hanizik. Ein mishal malchatzi nezik b'shusarab m'chayeves. So going according to the rabbi's opinion, Karen b'shus hanizik, Karen in the private property is half payment. Yet it's still liable in the public area. So now, Shane v'Regel that in the private area pay a full payment, for sure they should pay a full payment in the public area. It should be liable in the public area. On my cross, the verse states, the Torah very clearly says it. This is not up for kal v'chaimer. The Torah says beer b'stei acher has to be somebody else's field. A public area is not somebody else's field. That's the end of the story. Very simple. Together, top of the 26a. So the Gemara said not so fast. Okay, midei kule kamrinin, paga kamrinin. Well, maybe the Torah says to make a full payment, you have to be in a different person's field. But maybe we can make the kal v'chaimer from Karen, and we should say Shane and Regel are chayav half payment in a public area. Okay. Yeah. With regard to Karen, the Torah says Karen pays half, and the limitation is just Karen pays half. There's no concept of half payment by any other category. By Shane and Regel. What about the fact that Sroris pays half? Sroris, the pebbles. Okay, the pebbles is a halach l'meshem misina. It's an oral tradition. It's a different category. Okay. Okay. So in the third line, 26a. Okay, so now we should say the opposite. We should say Shane and Regel should be exempt in private property. It's kal v'chaimer, right? Obviously, as we know, Shane and Regel clearly are liable for private property, full payments. Okay, what's the kal v'chaimer? Mikal v'chaimer, Mikaren. I'm sorry. Shane and Regel should make a half payment in a private area, in private property. Why? Karen, that in a public domain is only pays half. Yet Karen that pays in a public domain. Yet when it comes to a private domain, it pays half. Shane and Regel that is exempted of public domain, for sure in the private area, it should be limited by half from Karen. Shane and Regel Shane and Regel that are exempt in public, and then in private property, the victim's property, they should pay half. So the Gemara says, Amakra Yishalom. Okay. Referring to the pasuk that says a beer of a referring to Shane and Regel, the Torah says Yishalom, you make a payment. Tashlum and Ma'alya, a full payment. You can't pay half. The Torah says Shane and Regel is chayav, it means a full payment. Okay. Karen Karen should not be liable in the public area. What's the kal v'chaimer? Shane and Regel that in private pay full. versus Rabbi Tura, yet when it comes to the public areas, they're exempt from payment. So Karen, which is an Izek Chatzin Ezek, Karen, which has a leniency that in private it only pays half. So it's a lot more lenient than Shan and Regal. So for sure, it should have a leniency of Shan and Regal that it doesn't pay anything in the public areas. And in Rabbi Tura. So Amar V'Yechon and Amar Kra Yechtzon. Ein Chatzin Ezek Cholak. Lo b'shus Rabim v'lo b'shus Yachid. When the Torah gives a half payment for Karen, it's a common half payment. It doesn't make a difference where it happens. Karen always pays half. Okay. Together? Okay. Now we switch slightly. The Adam Chayav Kaifer. What's Kaifer? We'll talk about more specifics in Kaifer because there's some more details we'll get to soon and later today, and hopefully, as we continue Bava Kamma. I'm telling you the consensus opinion. And then we'll change and we'll add the other opinions as well. The general consensus opinion is if you have a Shor Hamud, okay, it's killed 3 people, and then he kills a 4th one, it pays kaifer. There is an opinion that you pay kaifer immediately. Anytime an animal kills somebody, but instead of paying a full kaifer, you pay half kaifer. What is kaifer? Kaifer is a machlok is how much you pay. If you pay the value of the victim or the value of the owner of the aggressing animal. The fundamental question here is kaifer a monetary payment or is kaifer an atonement payment? It could be that kaifer has nothing to do with the damage. Kaifer is you're negligent. The Torah provides you with the opportunity to have an atonement. And that atonement is dependent on your own value, not the value of the victim. It's very interesting. You have Reuven's animal kills Shimon, okay?
Right.
For the 4th time, whatever, it's the 4th person Shimon kills. Okay, and the amount that Reuven pays to Shimon's family is the value of Reuven.
And not the value of the animal.
It's so
No, it's
kaifer.
It's kaifer. Yeah.
It's kaifer.
Yeah.
So what is kaifer? Kaifer is a debate. It's a debate. There are 2 debates in kaifer. The question is whether kaifer is the victim's value, in which case it might be a monetary payment, or at least a type of monetary payment, or kaifer is actually the value of the owner of the aggressing animal. In which case, kaifer is probably a kapara. It's an atonement payment. It has nothing to do with value. What does the owner of the aggressor have to do with the victim? Okay. Now, okay. And then there might be opinion that talks about half payment of kaifer initially, and we'll get to it. Okay. Now, kaifer, like we said, is limited to an aggressing animal. That's if a person kills somebody else, he should pay kaifer. Now, generally speaking, what's the rules? You kill somebody else. What's your monetary responsibility?
I thought it was 0.
0.
Yeah.
0. Why?
Yeah.
Go to the gallows.
Exactly. Come live in Robin. And there's 2 types of death penalties that are given out. Well, they're not really death penalties. There are 2 severe punishments meted out to those that murder. Right? If it's intentional with witnesses, what's the penalty? Capital punishment. Capital punishment.
Don't know which one for that
The
case.
specific one is decapitation. He's decapitated. Okay, that's the penalty for standard murder, which is the other possibility is if he kills by accident, what happens? He goes to exile,
Go to the
city of refuge. In either scenario, you'd have Kollel b'derabminei. That means that the singular penalty would be either exile or decapitation.
There's no area in Mirklat, by the way.
I'm sorry?
There's no city of refuge. What do people do?
It's
Okay, I guess
good question for different day. It's in Sechus Marcus. Well, take a while till we get there. Okay. Okay. Now, okay. One second, where was I? Okay. Now, what's the possibility here? The possibility is, let's say a guy kills intentionally or close to intentionally, so he doesn't go to exile, but there were no witnesses, so he doesn't get killed either. So that person should pay kaifer. I mean, kal v'chomer. Okay, what's the kal v'chomer? We spoke about a person, a man damaging another man, assault in English or battery. Where that's a unique category, we call that type of damage, instead of calling it nizikin, we call it chayvel. Chayvel is man-to-man damage, and chayvel has the unique feature of making 5 payments. Otherwise, there's no other nezik that's in that category. All other nizikin pay only. All other nizikin only pay
nezek. Nezek is the loss, the decrease in value. That's what nezek is. There are only the two similar instances to chayvel, which obviously you might figure are really part of chayvel, and that would be rape or seduction. Where also you pay similar to chayvel, so you'd include some of the 5 payments according to each category, according to each to its own. Okay. So if an animal kills somebody or damages somebody, you don't pay the 5 payments of chayvel. Chayav b'kofer, yet you're still chayav to pay kofer. Adam shechayav arbod vorum, anything shechayav b'kofer. A man-to-man assault, which pays the 5 payments, certainly should pay kofer. Amar krosh cholash uses olav alayal adam. There's a limitation. The Torah specifies that kofer is only paid by the owner of an ox, not by a man. Man-to-man assault, no kofer. Torah says specifically. Okay, fine. So now we know that a man is exempt from kofer. So now we should say the opposite. So a shor, an animal, should make all 5 payments. Mikal v'chomer. Uma adam she'ena chayav b'kofer. Chayav arbod vorim. Uma adam she'ena chayav b'kofer. Chayav arbod vorim. If you look at a man that is not chayav in kofer, the Torah specifically excludes him, yet he still has to pay 5 payments, 1 plus 4. Shor shechayev b'kofer enedin shechayev arbod vorim. Shor that pays kofer, so shor is actually more stringent than a man. He should also make 1 plus 4, 5 payments. Nezek plus the remaining 4. Amakra ish b'amite v'lo shor b'amite. Okay, a man to his friend and not a shor to his friend. Shor does not make the 5 payments. It's only this man-to-man assault. Okay. Now we get to an interesting question. Regel shedoris lagavi b'chotzer nizik ma'or shetishalem kofer. You have an animal that this tragic situation. The animal was walking casually walked over a kid and stomped it to death. No, this is not Karen. It's a regal. Ma'or shetishalem kofer, is there a payment to kofer or not? Mi amrin and mi dehava Karen kimin de'ava trei tells zimni orchehu u'mishalem kofer. Karen pays kofer when after it's habituated. That's the typical opinion. The mainstream opinion is kofer is only in a habituated animal, so therefore it's normal now, just like regal, which is normal. It's casual behavior. There's no difference. Or do we say no? Karen, yeah, it's true, it's normal, but it's intention to do damage. Regal, there was never intention to do damage. So is kofer require that intention or not? Toshma. He brings his animal into the domain of the owner without permission. And the animal kills the owner. So he brings it. So I brought my animal into somebody else's property without permission. My animal kills the owner of the property. Hashor beskila, the animal is killed. So Reb Tarfon says the owner of the animal pays kofer, a full kofer. Remember, Reb Tarfon says Karen b'chotzer and Nizik pays full payments. So Reb Tarfon says you also pay full kofer the first time. So the Gemara says, now the Gemara says kofer shalom b'tam Reb Tarfon minali. How does Reb Tarfon know that it's possible to pay full kofer by a naive animal? It must be he holds like Rabbi Yehudah. The Amar Tam Shalom Chatzi kofer. Rabbi Yehudah says kofer is meted out immediately. You pay kofer immediately, but you only pay half of it as long as the animal is not habituated. Once it's habituated, then kofer is a full payment. So so Tarfon holds like Rabbi Yehudah that the payment of kofer exists by a naive animal as well. Okay, now how does Reb Tarfon know that you pay full kofer in a private domain? It must be because he holds that regal pays full kofer in a private domain, right? And if regal pays full kofer in a private domain, so kal v'chomer that the keren b'shus hanizik, the same kal v'chomer that we spoke about in the Mishnah, the kal v'chomer that we spoke about dayai, just like regal pays. So if regal is paying kofer, full kofer in a private area, so too keren will pay full kofer immediately. It must be, what do we see from here? That regal pays kofer. If regal pays kofer, then it's appropriate to say that Karen in a private area also is going to pay kofer, according to Reb Tarfon's own opinion. Okay. Okay, this is probably the hardest Gemara. We'll start with it tomorrow. Okay, stop here. Review it, and we'll continue tomorrow. Okay. Great day.